Okay, so everybody's here. Let us start. Okay, this next session is going to go a little bit towards, I just want to find where it is. It's in your resource pack. So even though I can't show you the slides, I'm just trying to find where it is. Okay, it's towards the end. It starts with NHI workshops, facilitating learning and working groups, and it's got a little cartoon as the first one, so it looks like this in your resource pack. It's towards the end. It's just before the workshop copies for yourself. Okay, so I want to know how many people here have, on their own or in groups with other people, planned workshops? Yeah. How many people have planned and run workshops? Okay. So some of you will have that experience. Okay. So what we're going to do is, this little cartoon starts with something about teaching and learning, okay? So it says, there's two people, you can't see it too clearly, and a dog. And the one says to the other one, "I taught Stripe how to whistle." And the other one goes to the dog and he says, "I don't hear him whistling." So the other guy says, "I said I taught him. I didn't say he learnt it." Okay? So if we take that into account, that you can teach, but you don't know if someone has learnt. Okay? So what do we think learning is? Maybe just talk to the people, about 3 people. What is learning? What do we mean when we say learning? That people have learned, that you have learned. Just chat to someone for a few minutes just to get an idea of different people's ideas on learning. Okay, I think people have got some ideas. So which group would like to start? Anyone? Okay.
No, I think learning is writing and reading.
You think learning is writing and reading, okay?
We think learning is about sharing new ideas, because sometimes what you know, I might never know. So it's about sharing new ideas.
It's about sharing different ideas.
Yes.
Okay.
I can define learning as when someone consumes something new, when you hear something new, when you see something new, when you experience something new.
Okay. You covered. Anyone else?
The English learning is just ability to acquire knowledge.
Acquire knowledge. Okay.
I think also learning is the information you get from another one. Yes. Or also it's something that you need to practice.
Anyone else? Okay. So we've got acquiring knowledge. We've got sharing different ideas and learning from each other, new ideas, new perspectives. Doing. So when you've got the knowledge and you do, you're able to know that you've learned it, okay? And the one about sharing and acquiring new knowledge is once you've... Yeah, I must put that away. Oh dear. There we go. Where was it before? There we go. I must just be careful with it. Okay, so basically it's changing your ideas on things, getting new knowledge, and having different perspectives on it. Okay, so learning is about all of those things. And probably the applying of it is the easiest way to know that you have learned it. Okay, so now, Paulo Freire. Who's heard of Paulo Freire before? Okay, quite a few. Paulo Freire was a Brazilian educator, and he spoke mainly about the problem of what we call banking education. And banking education is when you see people as empty vessels and you just put knowledge, try and give them knowledge, but you're actually not getting them a chance to think about it, to talk about it, and to discuss it and to learn from each other, different points of view, different ways of seeing things. Okay, so hopefully in this workshop that we've been running, we've hopefully had a balance between giving information but also giving you a chance to discuss and share so that it becomes meaningful to you, okay? And Paulo Freire often spoke about using different codes based on people's experience. And so codes could be a picture of something that happens in the community. Leslie used the picture of the kind of ambulance in the Eastern Cape. So if you showed that, people would be able to identify it and talk about the issues around having ambulances like that. So he was saying that people have got all the knowledge and the experience, and all that's needed is for people to discuss, to share things, and to get more knowledge in that way, okay? And it all happens through dialogue. And then we have other theorists of learning who, I'm not going to go into a lot of them, but another one that would have, I can't remember if he comes before or after, or maybe the same time as Paulo Freire, Vygotsky. Louis, can you remember? Paulo Freire's 1921 to 97, I think he was before. Yeah. He was a Russian educationalist, and he spoke about how people can learn on their own, but they learn much better in their social context and learn from each other. Okay? And then, if you've heard of experiential learning, where experience is transformed into knowledge. Okay? A lot of people in many countries, and especially South Africa, but other countries as well, were not given the opportunity to get formal education for a long time, and still happens today. But a lot of people have gained experience from life, from doing work, from a lot of things. And once you can let people discuss that experience and reflect on it and draw out the knowledge from it, then you are creating new knowledge. Yes, we do have to give input. We do have to have people read things and all of that. But the actual learning happens in the discussion. And I think that's what was coming out from all of you. Okay. So when running workshops, one has to also take into account the whole thing that we did yesterday with the visual, the hearing, the doing, and the reading and writing, okay? And taking into account that people have preferred ways of learning, try and mix those as much as you can. Okay, so what type of facilitation, let me try and think now. What kind of, if you are facilitating a workshop, a group, how would you like to do it? Have you had any good, bad examples from yesterday and today? Okay.
I'm being embarrassed to say bad.
What have you seen that's good? What would you improve in terms of facilitating your learning? And facilitation of learning doesn't only, you notice I don't talk about teaching, okay? I talk about facilitation of learning. Because even in a group like this, not just in a small group, you are hopefully facilitating learning. So maybe if you could just, again, just for a few minutes, talk to your group and think about what have you found has been helpful in the learning in this workshop and what could maybe be done differently in terms of your learning, okay? Is that clear enough? Okay. Just have a little discussion.
Yeah, we are saying in a learning process, there's a two-way process as well. Someone with an information who wants to share the information. Sometimes some people will think other people are just empty vessels, they don't know a thing. Yet, if for an example you are facilitating a workshop, you want other people to grasp what you want them to learn, but also at the same time you are learning from them, because your service from the first facilitation will improve in the next one, because you of new things that you have realized in that group, that you are missing certain things, or maybe the people from the floor are telling you how to do things. And it's also important when you are facilitating a workshop to make sure that there's full participation. Everybody participates in what you are doing. It must not be one-sided, or maybe you always listen to the same people, but other people are not participating. So it needs you to encourage everybody to participate so that you are all in the same page. Yeah, that's where we, yeah.
Okay. Next group. Who wants to?
Let me try.
Okay.
I'll be specific in terms of the 2 days. Yesterday, it was a learning circle, regardless of the setting, because we have given opportunities to share our thoughts and ideas. And also, we had a chance to to engage with my partner or my neighbor, to share our thoughts, looking at how to do better in terms of the future about NHI. So facilitation is around leading the process, not doing all the work for the people. Most of the time, people should do their work so that when you are not around them, they can be able to fish their own fish instead of you fishing for them.
Yeah, I think they cover some of the things. But another thing that we share with my partner here, we discovered that as much as you are learning, there are also challenges on the learning process. And that can make you to be fear of moving forward. But we need to come up with a strategy to overcome those challenges, and that it will need your creativity and a new strategy plan, and then teamwork, and make sure that you involve the people that you are having the challenge with them, so that we can plan way forward. We cannot be stopped by challenges that we are facing in our community. Sure.
Any other ones? Hands up. Yeah.
Hi. So I do like the facilitation of the sessions for the 2 days. From a community perspective, I don't think in my community a lot of people know about NHI unless you are probably in the health sector, or you are in some type of government sector, or you. If for myself, for example, I would not have known about NHI had I not been involved in the health committee. So that is where my knowledge comes from. I did expect when I came here that I would gain more knowledge on the bill itself. Everything else that I did learn will help definitely to get some information to my community, but the bill itself I had hoped would be unpacked. So yeah, for me that didn't happen.
Okay. Anyone else from this group? Okay.
As a follow-up to what she's saying, usually in workshops, you give people time. Like right now, you are from different sectors totally. So you'll have people who have the knowledge of the NHI bill itself, others who know about the NHI, others who just hear about it but know nothing. So what we usually do is we give time just to people to mingle. And then sometimes when they sit down and talk about it, others, they exchange ideas, because other people don't like to talk with the microphone in front of them. You know, it's not that they are not given a chance. So, but when you're sitting outside and then you discuss, hey, where are you working now? What? Okay, what do you do? When they share those things, then it becomes more easy when it becomes more interactive. Unlike a facilitator, like always putting up the slides, they are running. So like for me, the advantage is I knew the bill, I knew the NHI top up. Now I've learned how to explain it at ground level, because at least now I say I'm confident now I can tell someone about it. But I've been discussing it politically, so now at least I know it both sides.
Okay, so I think our group was also just thinking around the idea that, you know, it was nice for us to like have an opportunity to discuss, you know, having somebody who's political and top up, and a doctor who's got influence in different spaces, somebody who's a community member on the ground, who understands the issues on the ground, and somebody who comes from like an academic space. So this is a really nice way. This is the opportunity of a workshop like this to bring people who wouldn't ordinarily be together to discuss the bill and to share each other's knowledge and perspectives of the bill. But we were thinking that if this was the entry point, if this was the first, the start of the discussion, and if we could unpack the bill from day one and have the content either that was presented, which was very useful, either before, like a pre-learning task, or integrated into it, it might make it more interactive and empowering, because I think some of the learning that we did for the past 2 days was didactic. There was presentation and we learned. While we did engage, I'm not feeling like I have the skills to unpack the bill, So I think I would have liked more of these kinds of discussions from the start, with the bill unpacking, the language in the bill, So I think that's what I was hoping for. Yeah.
During these 2 days, I did learn a lot, not only from the facilitators. I also learned from the questions, which was asked, and answers, which was given. So on Friday, I had a meeting with the head of clinics in Tulbagh, in my rural area. Because of the community was calling for the meeting. Since there's posters which I knew, which wasn't posted, and then the clinic is ruled by the staff of the clinic, its families, and all those things. So on Friday, I didn't know as much as I know today. So by means of, except going back to facilitate, I know that this coming Monday, this coming week, I'll be able to go to the clinic and then to go and ask about the council, the committee council, and then establish a new council, and then I will be able to do my research and then get forms and all those things. So if this workshop wasn't here, if I didn't come to the workshop, then I would have known very little. So I can say that I learned a lot during these 2 weeks. So I'll be, yeah. Well, 2 days, yeah. It's like 2 weeks. It's like 2 weeks. It's like 2 weeks.
Okay.
So I think being a student, being here has been like a big privilege. Uyonela, for me and Uyonela. Because we also recently got introduced to the idea of NHI and things like that. Our focus is usually just to pass, just pass and pay your fees. And now it's like, wow, it's so much more than just getting to the degree. Because when you get the degree, now you're in the workspace. And I just feel grateful for these 2 days to have a space to ask questions that have been posed to me. And also, like Yonela was saying, maybe she'll speak for herself, but to hear the different voices in the community. Because often as students, you're sheltered. You're just on your little campus, and you just you're shipped off to your little sites to do your little rotation, and then you come back. But here, to hear from community members, academics, things like that, people who I usually don't have access to, was really a privilege. And I think in terms of the bill, I was also really curious about the actual legislation. But I see that maybe this is just a launch pad, because PMH, PHM, is like a social movement. So yes, I'm going to have my little NHI workshop with my students, but I don't have to know the ins and outs of the bill before I engage people about NHI, because they're already thinking about it. You know what I mean? So start by engaging them. Be like, hey, what do you know? Let's see what you do know. And together over time, as the curiosity and interest happens, we attack them with the bill, Because if we go with the bill straight away, people are going to get lost in the lingo. Right now, their fears and their stigma and things need to be addressed before we even go to the legislation, Because there's a lot of, myths and stuff surrounding NHI and why we want to do it. So I'm just excited. I do feel empowered to just start the conversation. Yeah.
Okay. Then you can pass on.
What I'm feeling is we have here in this room different people, with different background, but all of us was sharing our experience. We was participate, but when we go outside, it's not like that. here we are different. We have different background, but we are all engaging in the same. We have same vision. But when we go to our community, our service provider, sometimes they use their knowledge to oppress people who are coming for community. So sometimes we meet with the people who are nurses, doctor, and we with people who are coming for the community. And when they're feeling like they are losing power, they are losing something, they want to show them their power, they use their knowledge. So here we didn't feel it because we have the same mind, but the outside is not like that. So in that time we must have a knowledge to push people for our community, because sometimes they'll start to say, yes, we agree, where they are not agree. They are doing it because they don't want to fight with who are showing power in that moment. So we lose the opportunity to share what we are there to share or to learn about.
Yeah, I like the way the way PHM is facilitating. As a facilitator, I've learned a lot. That I don't need to give all the information to people, but to extract how much information the participants have and add whatever it needs to be added on. So I like the way all of the facilitators were facilitating. It opens my mind to say, no, this is how I need to facilitate. I don't need to teach. The way you are doing, you are not teaching us, but you are facilitating. You get information from us and you add that little bit that you see it's not covered. So I like the way these 2 days it was very helpful to me.
So I think just thank you to PHM for organizing this. I think that it was a good workshop. I think one of the things that perhaps ties into the comments coming from that group and a few others around the NHI bill was probably the way the program says it's NHI training. So you're expected to learn about the bill, but PHM has made a shift to thinking of the health systems approach, as Leslie said. So I think that perhaps needed to be unpacked a bit more around also why that decision was taken, and perhaps just a bit more understanding of like what is health systems, where does the NHI plug into that. I think that would help also just thinking around also a broader campaign, because if this is part of a campaign for the NHI, how do we begin to kind of also go forward with a collective approach, because the campaign does require some kind of synergy in terms of what people are doing and how we're moving forward with this. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I think also like what I feel is that a kind of space like this is rare. And it's not often that people can come together to have these kinds of discussions on health systems outside of the formal academic space. So these discussions are critical and really important. But I do feel like I still struggle with the idea of if I have to go and run a workshop on the NHI following these 2 days, and I haven't seen the bill or we haven't discussed the bill, then am I discussing health systems or am I discussing the NHI bill itself? And I don't know that, even coming from someone who is in public health, that we've thought through, and I feel PHM has can generate the questions around what we need to demand from the Minister of Health as to getting clarity of the implementation. So we understand that there's a lot of information in the bill that is missing. But I think what I still would like to have discussions around is what would those things look like? So instead of, because I can understand that there's a lot of powerful private sector interest shaping the implementation of the NHI, but if we had to think about a model, thinking about strategic purchasing, thinking about DRG things, thinking about the way GP contracting can occur, thinking about capitation models, thinking about the different package of care that should be in a comprehensive primary care approach. We're now introduced to these ideas, but I don't know that I can, on my own, go back and think of what that could look like in a finance model. So I suppose maybe a follow-up workshop might be useful, because I recognize you can't dive into the NHI bill without covering what we've covered up to now. It's difficult to do that. This does come before the next. But I feel that will empower us as a group from all the different spaces we come from to be able to know what we're demanding and how it looks, And when we say we are calling for a people's NHI, we can name we can really speak to the finance mechanism. And it is an entire language that many of us don't have. Finance is not a language I have. I don't have language that can understand what does efficiency mean. We use the word efficiencies, but we use it in every day. We don't use efficiencies in terms of, or utilization rates. We don't use these terms in terms of finance systems. And I think how do we simplify it so that we don't have to go and do an entire course on economics or finance, but that we can bring it down to layman language to say, this is what I actually think we need, And I'm not sure that exists or it's PHM's responsibility or whatever, but perhaps collectively something like that needs to be brainstormed and developed with PHM and others, so that could be something that comes out of a workshop like this. I don't know. Thank you.
Okay. I think on that note, the next session is really you grappling with what you can take from this workshop and put into a workshop for your context. Okay? Yes, Leslie?
And can I just add to that? So I think also it would be very helpful for PHM to hear that discussion, because it makes it possible for us to follow up.
Absolutely.
This was the first workshop we run. We have now sort of really hard to pitch it, and we're getting very valuable feedback. So it's helpful for us to know how to follow up afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, I don't need that, but I'll hold it. Okay. But I think what's come out of this is that it has been useful to have different people from different backgrounds, different sectors of the health sector, from community, etc., and exchanging ideas there. And also, one of the questions we would have asked is, what if we missed out? And I think we've got a very good example there. So, but what we would like you to do is to get into groups and until lunchtime, start working on how you would plan your workshop. And the content, I'll write this up because I was thinking I could leave it up on the screen. So the content that we have covered has been the crisis in the health system, the NHI, where it came from, how it works, how it relates to universal health coverage, and then a campaign for people's health people's NHI. And the main themes that have sort of come out as what needs to be improved are the service delivery, quality of care, skilled and appropriate human resources, improvement of leadership and government, and the inadequate and inequitable financing. Now, not all of those may be relevant for how you want to run your workshop, but with that in mind, think about how you would put together a workshop. Now, for this session, we said that you should be we kind of mixed you into what we thought were kind of like groups, okay? And your stars are the ones that you have on your things, on your cards. And there is a second thing that you're going to do is more personalized for you or for your 2 people or 3 people. But this first one is really just trying to brainstorm together to see what would you put into a workshop. And we were thinking that maybe you'll run a workshop for 2 or 3 hours, not 2 days, okay? And what would be the crucial things that you think you've learned from here that you would put into the workshop? And looking at how you would do that a bit. What techniques would you use, etc. Okay.